Hey guys, welcome back to the workshop. Today we're going to be talking about how I made these huge Captain America Sam Wilson Falcon wings. Now, as you may know, I teased these a very long time ago. These were no easy task for me to make at all. In total, probably took me around a year and a half to finish, just between classes and school and jobs and all the other stuff you can think of. So the footage you're going to be seeing today is decently old. Ignore the production quality and just look at the content. Pay attention to the glow up because I look very different. These were a commission build for a friend and I was happy to take on the challenge. I tried to make them functional, but unfortunately it did not work out. I know most of you have probably seen J-Laser videos. Huge retractable wings. I tried to make them so they fold towards the user like in the show. You'll see in this video what I tried to do to make that work. Unfortunately, towards the end, I had to compromise and get rid of that feature just because I had to get the commission done. But maybe in the future, we will attempt that again. Without further ado, I'm going to talk to you about how I made these awesome wings. To begin with this build, I started with a paper pattern. So in order to do this, I went into Adobe Illustrator and I made this template. And I made this paper template to be used to cut out of foam. Now, this was pretty difficult because the Hot Toys figures pictures were very limited at this time. So I found a picture where the wings were spread, and that was the picture that I used to make the template. Now, this is the part where I became that human embodiment of that Tumblr post that I saw forever ago, where I was literally just hunched over foam for like hours on end in my garage. It was freezing. I'm not sure why I was wearing shorts, but this was a very cold and long process. But I got pretty much all pieces of the first wing cut out in this period of time.
Okay, so I've got all of them. I can't hold them all. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and 4, 5, and 6. So these are the main wing pieces right here. As you can see, my nose is very red. It's cold outside, so. But yeah, so these are the main wing pieces. I'm gonna go grab the patterns for, realized you couldn't see me there. I'm gonna go grab the structural pieces so I can start cutting those out. And then maybe we'll do some patterning later tonight for just one of the wings. And then we'll have to cut out the other some other day. Or maybe that's not the best idea. We'll see what I feel like.
Now, once we got the base shapes cut out, I started detailing these wings. This was one of the biggest hurdles I faced during this build, just because there are so many little details on these wings. These are very intricate, carbon fiber, Wakandan wings. And I wanted to make sure I got that level of detail in this build. So first I started with burning these lines into the foam, the detail lines that separate each different texture on the wings. I did this with a flat tip soldering iron, just carefully tracing the lines from the pattern that I used.
Alright, so the last thing I'm going to talk about before I just kind of skip over all this because there's a lot to do, is like heat sealing. So heat sealing the foam is really important. It makes the surface look a lot smoother and it ultimately absorbs less paint and plasti dip when you get ready to paint everything. So you can see right now it looks more porous than after you heat seal it. So I'll do that right now and then you guys can see that. So you want to wait till it gets like, decently hot. And then what you do is you just hit it with the heat gun. See how it gets shiny? That's what we want. So now you can see it's more of like a smooth, shiny appearance. So now it's fully heat sealed. I did this piece because it's basically, this is all I have to do for detailing, but I'm going to skip ahead to where all the detailing is done and I'm onto the stamping the texture part.
And then next I had to tackle this hexagon pattern. Now if you look at the pictures, there are 2 different types of hexagons on these wings. There's a slightly smaller one and a bigger hexagon shape. First I started playing around with a hex stamp, which basically you heat up the foam and you press the stamp in and it leaves an impression on the foam. Now, as you can see, this didn't hold up very well. It didn't give that level of detail that I wanted. It wasn't deep enough. It didn't hold the impression once it was heated just a little bit, and I was worried the detail would slip.
So I did most of the detailing so far. I'm going to start doing some of the hexagons on some of the smaller pieces. This is going to go like this. We're going to stamp it in. I don't know if this is going to work because I've done some test pieces and it doesn't stay very well, especially when I'm trying to do both sides. It usually flattens the other side. We're going to see if it works out. If it doesn't, then I have to figure out a new method, but we're going to give it a try. So here's what I managed to get. It's not very good. I wanted it to be deeper, but maybe we can burn in some of the details using this little outline right here.
So I went and bought a Cricut. So I bought a Cricut. The stamping wasn't working out, and there was no way I was going to do all this by hand. So I'm going to figure out how to use this thing, and then we're going to get going on cutting some patterns. And a Cricut is an awesome tool to have in your arsenal. It's basically like a template cutter. So you can load a file in there and it'll cut that pattern for you on paper, whatever supplies you want, but it has to be thin, which was another struggle I ran into because I was trying to cut this out of 2mm foam, which is about the max size that this thing can cut. Otherwise it starts getting really jammed and it doesn't cut through all the way and it just adds more work. Using some custom settings from Down in Creative Studios, I'll link her video in the description. She went over her settings for Cricut foam cutting and it was super helpful and it made this process so much easier and so much less painful. And so using this technique, I started creating some hexagon patterns, popping these hexagons out, and I glued these little outlines onto the foam for the wings, and this was how I created this texture. Did I just pull all these out by hand? Yes. Was it super annoying? Yes. Is it better than doing all of this by hand? 100%. Next up was doing the carbon fiber texture, which was a little bit easier. I used that same flat tip soldering iron that I used before, but it was really repetitive, just over and over and over, tapping that foam and giving it that texture. Then I began the contact cement process. So I cut these little slips of 2mm foam and I glued it on so it looked like there were tabs. I started gluing pieces together that were supposed to fit together, just in preparation for sealing and painting and assembling.
So I just finished this back base piece. This is where the hinges are going to go into, right in here.
Now you can see things starting to take shape a little bit. I had to design a frame for these wings. I can honestly say at this point, I had no idea what I was doing.
So, right now we just have this base piece. This is where the jetpack is going to screw in. So I kind of gave it some wiggle room right now because I don't know where the jetpack's going to go exactly on these wings, and I don't want to cut the pipe too short, but I gave it about 2 inches on the end because that's going to fit into the hinge, which is going to sit like right here. So yeah, now we just wait for it to print, I guess.
And I started making a frame based on the upper shape of the wing. I wanted these to fold. So in the show, when he shields himself, he pulls the wings forward to shield himself as well. And I really wanted those wings to do that. I took some zip ties and basically created a little pocket where they can move in and then hot glued these spots down. So the zip tie doesn't move and it has a little space to move in, but it doesn't come loose.
So that's gonna continue all the way up through the wings, up until like a certain point, and then attach to the final PVC pipe. So that way, when you pull on this right here, it'll pull all the way down and grab that and pull it in. So then these hinges will activate.
So I designed these 3D printed hinges that would basically fold at 2 points of the wing and would allow the wings to fold in front of the user. Now these would be spring loaded, so that way they wouldn't flap forward on their own, but they would also flap back after he releases the mechanism. The other idea I had would be that the wings would screw into the jetpack, so it would be completely modular, and you could take these apart if you just wanted to wear the jetpack. I'll give you a little spoiler and just say that this mechanism unfortunately did not work out. Just the sheer weight of the wings made them fold forward too much and it became an issue, so I had to fix them so they don't fold. Maybe in the future I'll think of another iteration, but for right now, this is all I did for the commission. Now with the frame assembled, I started assembling everything else and getting it ready for paint. Now the painting process was pretty straightforward. For reference, I'm about 5'9", and you could see the sheer size of these things. They're monstrous. I'm gonna save you all the time and effort of watching all of that over again and just skip to the part where the second one is done.
2,000 years later.
So now that we had both wings built, we had to actually build a harness to wear it. Now I basically took a piece of ABS, cut it the size of the jetpack that I modeled, and strapped it to my back. Easier said than done. But I bolted these straps to the ABS plastic and then created like a buckle system, kind of like a parachute. And that was the mechanism that I was going to be using. Once that was done, it was time to test fit, which was really, really scary. The first test fit I have, I didn't even capture on camera because things just went horribly wrong. All I have is this ring video of it.
Oh, hang on. I'm trying to hold on the plastic. You got that side? No. Okay, hang on. Oh! I don't know what's freaking. Okay. Lift up this way.
Now basically what happened was one of the wings actually fell off just due to the sheer weight. The PVC was not strongly glued together and it actually fell apart. So I had to reinforce this and make sure it was sturdy enough to wear because I don't want this guy putting on his wings at a convention and just falling apart or blowing away. After doing some reinforcing, the wings were wearable. And I can't even tell you how amazing this felt. So I'm just gonna show you the video of me putting them on for the first time.
Grab here, and then maybe grab, yeah. Just like how we were flipping it. Okay, lift up, up, yep. Okay, got it?
Yep. You okay? Okay, you got it. The charm, okay. I can straighten you out when you get it on you. Okay.
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 Do me a favor, you can let go a little bit.
We let go a little bit or a lot bit?
A lot bit.
Okay.
Help here. Go behind me. Duck under. Limbo. Grab the black piece.
Okay.
Mount. No, don't lift. Push. the lower part. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Yep, we're gonna scoot forward a little bit.
I'm still pushing the lower part into your back. Did you get it?
Lift up. Okay, let go. Oh, what the f? I think I did it. Woo!
Stay still, don't laugh. Don't laugh. God, don't move. Crazy, you're crazy. You're squished.
Oh my god, this is so crazy. Oh my god. Oh my god. Now that we have evidence that they're on my body, can you get behind me? And we're gonna try to make it so my boobs aren't like literally being compressed. Oops. It's definitely squashing my boobs.
This was by far the hardest thing I've ever built. And also one of the scariest things I've ever worn. Now obviously I have to find a way for the harness to be a little bit more lightweight. It's gonna sit differently on the guy that commissioned it just because he's a guy, and he's gonna have to adjust it to his measurements. But for first attempt at something this big, I think I did okay.
I think I did okay.
Now obviously I would have loved to have these be functional and moving, and one day maybe I'll come back to it, but right now I can't even think about building another one of these again. It was so much work. The patterns in the 3D model are in my description. I was selling them on Etsy for a while, so if you want them, check them out. If you want to try this on your own, check them out, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.